Hello, Dr. Varshney, and welcome to Computer Science Chats. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Victor?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great.
I've prepared several questions for you. So first, could you please introduce yourself and your educational background?
Yeah, my name is Kush Varshney, and I'm a distinguished research staff member at IBM Research, working from our TJ Watson Research Center in Yorktown Heights, New York. And my educational background is that I went to high school at Fayetteville Manlius High School in Manlius, New York. And then from there, I went to Cornell University in Ithaca, where I studied electrical engineering, and then after that went to MIT for my master's and PhD in electrical engineering and computer science.
Thank you. What inspired you to pursue computing?
So I think there were many factors. I think the biggest is that uh, so back when I was, kind of figuring things out, it felt like computing or engineering more broadly would be places where I could kind of do something new and interesting things that haven't been done before that can also positively impact people. And within engineering, I would say, in computing or other more, those sort of technologies certainly are, I think, the newer ones. So yeah, that was exciting for me.
That's very interesting. And it also kind of leads into my next question. How would you describe computer science or computing fields in general?
Yeah, I think it actually doesn't have to do with computers per se. So I think computing is more of a way of thinking and kind of like how to think about anything that you want to get done as a sequence of steps or instructions, and kind of how to organize kind of thinking or wisdom or whatever you want to call it in such a way that that machines can actually carry it out in the way that we want them to.
Thank you. Could you please describe some of the activities that you do through your work?
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, I co-founded the IBM Science for Social Good initiative. So through that, we we've done, close to 40 projects with different nonprofits and social enterprises on uh, data science and other related topics, and addressing things like poverty, hunger, health, education, and inequalities of various sorts. So that's one big thing that I do. Another is doing research on new algorithms and methods related to what we call trustworthy AI. So that includes things like fairness and explainability and robustness of AI systems, so that when they're used in high-risk situations, we can trust that they'll kind of not harm people and do things in a decently okay way.
Yeah. So, what do you like most, and what do you find most challenging about these activities?
What's most interesting for me is that they're challenging, first of all, because in all of these things, it's not looking at computing in isolation, but the interaction of technology with society, and kind of bringing in a lot of the thoughts and considerations that need to be brought in that go beyond just the field of computing. So I think that's, the most interesting and as well as the most challenging parts about it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for high school students who would like to get into your field?
I would say, keep learning about everything that you possibly can, because there's so many things that you can learn from all sorts of fields that are relevant to things as you see them going forward. So don't become too narrow, and don't specialize too early. So I think having a broad-based education is a good thing.
Yeah, and that also leads into my next question. So, where do you think computing is going in the future, and how can students prepare for it?
Yeah, I think it's going in a way that I mean, maybe it already has, that it's everywhere. It's computing is, I mean, there's no part of life where computing isn't, right? So as that continues to happen, I think it just becomes part of our everyday lives. And so, like I was saying, I mean, you don't want these computer systems to be harmful. And so we need to keep worrying about that. And in terms of students, what do you need to do to prepare? Uh, yeah, I think in general, just uh, think, right? So don't ever stop thinking, because there's a lot of times this sort of thought that I can just copy and paste code that I found on the internet and just use it for what I'm doing. But I would encourage people to stop and think, what is the problem I'm really trying to solve, and really start there. Don't start ever with the code or with the solution, but start with the problem.
Thank you very much for meeting with me and being willing to do this interview.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Thank you.